Tonight, a family facing a heart-wrenching decision. Their son on life support after a wild brawl inside Crown Casino's food court.
Plus, tributes for two little angels who perished in a car fire in Melbourne's southeast.
Russia launches a deadly warning to the United States after Joe Biden labels Vladimir Putin a butcher.
Petrol relief and cash bonuses on the cards in this week's federal budget.
Qantas unveils a new route direct from Melbourne to the heart of the US.
And the Kangaroos counting the cost of a win against the West Coast Ring-Ins.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Rebecca Madden and Mike Amor.
Good evening. Melbourne has been rocked by another night of extreme violence with a 29-year-old man on life support after a wild brawl inside Crown Casino's food court.
Senior crime reporter Cameron Bowe has the latest from the Alfred Hospital, and Cam, the victim has critical head injuries.
Mike, there were chaotic scenes at Crown overnight. Just after midnight, the victim was struck to the head. The impact was so severe that he had to be revived at the scene. The 29-year-old was then brought here to the Alfred Hospital and put on life support. Unfortunately, his condition has not improved since. There's been a large group of family and friends here today trying to support each other through this. A 26-year-old man from Highton has been charged with recklessly causing serious injury. A second man was arrested. He's been released pending further investigations.
And Cam, this wasn't the only violence at the casino last night.
Beck, a second brawl erupted at Crown. A group of up to 10 males came to blows. On that occasion, a 23-year-old man was repeatedly kicked. He suffered a dislocated arm. He also was brought here to the Alfred. The detectives investigating that matter believes that the groups involved in that case are known to each other. Beck.
Cameron Bowe, thank you.
There are heartbreaking tributes tonight for two little siblings who perished in a car fire in Melbourne's southeast. Details are just coming through to Tegan Doling in our newsroom. And Tegan, the mother behind the suspected murder-suicide was a nurse.
Well, Mike, friends say the mother, Jasmine, was a registered nurse who had most recently been working at Dandenong Hospital. She, her husband James and two little girls, Abilene and Caroline, had moved from Melbourne's north to the southeastern suburbs during COVID. They had built a brand new home just a few streets away from where their Toyota Corolla was burnt out. The family was also members of the Life Spring Pentecostal Church. They had attended a service just last week, days before the suspected murder-suicide. Pastor Wills mentioned the heartbroken father in his service today.
So let us pray for Brother James. As you all know, he's grieving because of the loss of his children and his wife. This is a time that we can stand close to him and uphold him in prayers and comfort him.
Members of the Malayali community who also know the family have expressed their shock, saying they were unaware there were any issues with Jasmine, as police say the investigation into exactly what happened and why is still with the Arson and Explosive Squad. Mike.
Tegan, thank you.
Russia has launched a missile strike near Poland in what appears to be a deadly warning to the United States. The attack came with US President Joe Biden in Warsaw, where he gave a speech calling Vladimir Putin a butcher who cannot remain in power.
Russian cruise missiles fired from a sub in the Black Sea. The target, Ukraine. The video released by Moscow. As the air raid alarm sounded in Lviv. And the city came under direct attack. 3 strikes destroying a fuel depot and a factory, precision hits from long range.
We've come up to near the highest point in Lviv, just near the television tower, and you can see the fire quite clearly from here. That's huge black smoke and flames just erupting from the building there. The area is full of sirens. Fire brigade and police are trying to make their way through to that. It's just started raining as well, but it's unlikely the rain will help with that.
There were 5 wounded in the explosions. The depot and factory are in the middle of residential areas. Locals rushed to air raid shelters.
We tried to hide.
Waiting in fear, not knowing what would happen next. It felt like an earthquake, he says.
They've got 4 ambulances on standby. This is what they do when they have an incident like this.
In the smashed city of Mariupol, the war grinds on, with gunfire and explosions at a pro-Ukrainian rally near Chernobyl. Also in the north. Journalists forced to take cover as shelling intensified. All of this a day after the Russians claimed there was a change of tactic and they would concentrate on Ukraine's east. On Russian TV, propaganda images of so-called victories. The Russian defence minister telling his country and the world maintaining combat readiness of nuclear forces is a priority. Just over the border in Poland, protesters lie on the ground to represent Ukraine's lost lives. As children at refugee centres draw of their trauma, if a picture tells 1,000 words, what are these telling the world?
My home was broken. Everybody had to leave and hide in a safe place. I just want the war to be over.
Let's get the latest from Jeff Parry in Ukraine. Jeff, it appears that missile strike had another intended target.
Yes, Rebecca, perhaps it was a message for US President Joe Biden, who was across the border in neighbouring Poland visiting American troops and Ukrainian refugees. He gave what some are describing as the speech of his presidency. So inflammatory was his language that the White House had to issue a statement afterwards, watering it down. Now, Ukraine says it needs more than just words, but the president's speech certainly gave a clear message to Moscow.
US President Joe Biden calling for regime change in Russia.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
The White House later trying to walk back the comments, but when it came to Vladimir Putin, there was no backing down from Biden.
Look at what he's done to these people. What does it make you think? He's a butcher.
And a war criminal too, according to the president, who today assured Polish leaders on the edge of this conflict of America's absolute commitment to NATO.
Don't even think about moving on 1 single inch of NATO territory. We have sacred obligation.
A landmark address in Warsaw telling Ukrainians the West is in this for the long haul.
We stand with you. Period.
Joe Biden leaves Europe after a frenetic 3 days diplomacy, but not before sending a crystal clear message to Russia and its president, Vladimir Putin, that his brutal assault on democracy will not break Western spirits. Amongst the fiery rhetoric, tender moments too. This young girl now safe in the arms of allies.
I don't speak Ukrainian, but tell her I want to take her home.
But home for her, this sprawling refugee camp in Poland, perspective for a president and a grandfather.
We got 4 little girls at home, granddaughters. And you know what? They love their grandpa. And I'm crazy about him.
This way, Mr. President.
In Brussels, David Woywood, 7 News.
Victorians have gathered in King's Domain in a show of support for Ukraine.
To honour the brave and the heroic soldiers, the thousands of Ukrainian civilians, the 136 innocent children who have been killed, murdered by Putin and the evil Russian aggressor.
The silent vigil is part of a global movement to stand with Ukraine.
Tackling the soaring cost of living will be the centrepiece of Tuesday's federal budget. Petrol relief and cash bonuses are on the cards as the Morrison government attempts to bolster its election hopes.
With an economy running hot and his government running cold in the polls,
Everyone say budget!
the budget picture for Josh Frydenberg is one of balance. Spend enough to ease cost of living pressures, but not so much that it drives up inflation and interest rates.
This is the number one topic
around the kitchen tables of Australians right now. Higher petrol prices, higher food prices.
Speaking to 7 News, the Treasurer hints at short-term tax relief on petrol and a one-off bonus believed to be $250 for low and middle income earners and possibly others.
So will pensioners get this bonus?
Pensioners will, of course, be supported by our government.
One measure confirmed today, an extension of wage subsidies for another 35,000 apprentices.
This is a great story because these are your plumbers, these are your carpenters, these are your hairdressers, these are your chefs.
Labor says the bad story is wages.
The cost of living pressures faced by Australian families didn't show up when Russia invaded Ukraine. They showed up when the coalition attacked wages and take-home pay.
The expectation is that wages will go up
by about 3%, but inflation is predicted to reach 5%. Prices rising faster than paychecks, wages going backwards in real terms.
Tuesday's budget will effectively fire the starter's gun on the election campaign. The overriding message, fiscal responsibility. The reality, a fair bit of vote buying.
We've done the homework and spent the time to get the right design.
The design of the pre-election budget in 2019 included more than $200 million on commuter car parks that were never built, including in Josh Frydenberg's electorate, and sporting grants in targeted marginal seats, both exposed by the Auditor-General as blatant pork barrelling.
No pork barrelling in this budget. Can you make that commitment? Hand on heart, you're not going to use this to pork barrel.
That's your characterisation of what we consider to be important measures in previous budgets.
As the budget papers roll hot off the presses, ready for the big day.
Political editor Mark Riley joins us now from Canberra. And Riles, is this budget really make or break for the Morrison government?
It is, Mike. He wants it to set the agenda for the next 2 months up to polling day, and it does sound like it will include some short-term relief for motorists on those eye-watering petrol prices. The government wants this election to be fought on the economy, and Labor says it's happy about that, confirming today that it will make RAT tests free for everybody and introduce policies to force wages higher. We'll see whether the government's prepared to match them in the budget as we head towards what's shaping as a cost-of-living election, Mike.
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you.
One of the 3 senior Labor members accused of bullying the late Senator Kimberley Kitching has spoken out. Katie Gallagher denied being involved in any conflict with Miss Kitching that led to her being labelled a mean girl.
I don't think I did anything that would deserve that name, but I don't think any person deserves that name on any side of the political chamber.
A condolence motion will be moved in Miss Kitching's name when Parliament resumes tomorrow.
The state's spiralling mental health crisis is at a tipping point tonight. Waiting lists are blowing out from weeks to months as more and more young Victorians reach out for professional help.
The unpredictability of the pandemic is still taking a toll.
You can describe life as getting back to normal, but a lot of young people missed crucial developmental milestones in the last 2 to 3 years while everything was frozen through lockdown.
Teachers are reporting younger children need more help with behaviour.
The children need much more support to build self-regulation and to fall into routines and to work together and play together.
Older students are experiencing high rates of anxiety. A national survey of 1,000 young Australians found 82% of those aged 16 to 24 reported they experienced mental health issues during the pandemic.
We do know that increasing numbers of young people are presenting with anxiety, depression, and also issues around returning to school.
Psychologists are also overwhelmed.
1 in 3 have had to close off their books compared with 1 in 100 pre-COVID.
Mental health experts say the reason the system is under strain is because the workforce isn't big enough, and what's needed is ongoing funding to attract and train graduates.
There are health professionals saying this is a lost generation of some of our young people who will never recover.
Parents can help by modelling resilience.
I would love all of the adults who want to support their young people to model the responses that we want them to have to stress someday.
The state government has funded a dedicated mental health practitioner for every state secondary school. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
The gloves are off between Aussie Airlines in the fierce battle for customers. Qantas today announced a new direct route from Melbourne to the US, while more than 1 million cut-price Virgin flights have just gone on sale.
Its fleet is coming out of COVID storage and Qantas is adding a new route, a non-stop flight almost 15,000 kilometres from Melbourne to Dallas.
When you're in Dallas, you're only less than 4 hours away from any other flight to any other city in the US.
From there are connections to 200 destinations in the United States, Canada and South America.
It'll be the first time Qantas has had direct flights between the two cities. There'll be 4 a week, but those keen to jump on board will need to cool their jets. It won't start until December.
There's a lot of travellers out there that are saying, yes, I want to travel, but I don't want to travel till later in the year, early next year.
Qantas already flies direct to Los Angeles. From today, that doubles from 4 to 8 a week. And Friday's federal government announcement to scrap inbound COVID testing on April 17 is set to make Australia an easier destination for tourists.
Before the pandemic, we had something like 250,000 visitors a year from the United States. It's our second strongest two-way trade market and one of our largest sources of visitors.
Virgin today announced a sale of 1.5 million fares on all their routes, domestically including to Hobart and Launceston for $55, Sydney for $75 and the Gold Coast for $99. Their international fares include Fiji $259 and Bali $269, and for children aged 2 to 11 it's an extra 25% off. Next on the agenda for Qantas is a long-held dream, direct flights from Melbourne to New York using the Airbus A350. They hope that will happen this year.
And even though Melbourne had one of the harshest lockdowns in COVID, it's bouncing back better than most cities.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have wrapped up their controversial royal tour of the Caribbean. Their trip has been marked by protests over the legacy of the British Empire in the region. Prince William says he will support Belize, Jamaica and the Bahamas if they want to cut ties with Buckingham Palace.
Buddy Franklin is set to get his milestone ball back as soon as tomorrow. The Swans have spoken to the lucky fan who caught the footy. A meet and greet is being organised with some personally signed memorabilia set to change hands. Franklin is expected to speak publicly tomorrow morning. The ball is being valued as much as $200,000. Well, Jackie Felgate's here with sport. The Tigers were back at their happy hunting ground today.
Yes, and you'll be very happy about this, Mike. Order has been restored for Richmond at the MCG. Toby Nankervis took charge as solo skipper, showing some fancy footwork in a giant victory. Also ahead, the latest on a Kangaroo star sent to hospital after a wild day against the Eagles. Essendon's season gets worse, dealt another cruel injury blow, and Michael Schumacher's son involved in a scary crash. And we've got exclusive details on how the AFL security plan to protect Buddy broke down. I'll see you soon.
OK, see you then. Thanks, Jack. Detectives are stepping up their hunt for a runaway driver who fled after a wild rampage in Melbourne's southeast.
Also ahead, life-changing help for Australians with cystic fibrosis.
A political firestorm on the eve of the Oscars. The latest from Hollywood next.
And Carlton footy greats rally for a legend in the fight of his life.
Police are searching for a reckless runaway driver who crashed his Toyota Hilux into 6 parked cars before it rolled. Caulfield North residents ran outside after hearing a loud bang.
I heard this huge crash. I actually thought the car had come through the wall and was sort of broken into the wall.
The driver fled on foot.
Thousands of Australians living with cystic fibrosis can now access life-saving treatment. The critical drug has just been listed on the PBS for just a fraction of the price.
For Jessica Ragusa, today is as good as winning the lotto.
Thank you for the support and the hope.
The 28-year-old was so ill her parents had to refinance their family home and make payments of more than $20,000 a month for the drug Trikafta.
It's going to save us. My life expectancy is 30. It's going to be well and truly further than that now.
Many patients with CF spend months of their lives in hospital because of recurrent airway infections, respiratory failure and evaluation for lung transplantation. This pill, taken twice a day, can short-circuit all of that.
Around 4,000 Australians live with the disease. The average life expectancy is just 47, but that's set to increase dramatically thanks to the new PBS listing.
This medicine would otherwise cost $250,000 a year.
From April 1, a script of Trikafta will cost just over $40 or as little as $6.80 with a concession card. This marks a major step forward for Australians living with cystic fibrosis, but there's still a long way to go. For now, the drug is only available for patients 12 years and older.
They are suitable, they can be used earlier in life, and then not have decline in lung function.
A drug 10-year-old Heidi is counting down the days for.
It'll mean that I'll be able to run and I'll be able to breathe better.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
The red carpet is in place for tomorrow's Academy Awards, with 10 Australians in the running for an Oscar. Hollywood heavyweights are set to stand in support of Ukraine and could even host a virtual appearance from the war's front line.
Are you ready to host the Oscars?
The night before the Oscars. The carpet was out, the cameras were ready, the votes counted. Will Smith's the favourite to be crowned Best Actor for his role as Venus and Serena Williams' father in King Richard.
Now, I don't even mind you saying we hard on these kids. You know why? Because we are.
Nicole Kidman's among the nominees for Best Actress in Being the Ricardos.
I care about what works. I care about what's funny.
A celebration back at Dolby Theatre, but at a time of turmoil abroad. The colours of the Ukrainian flag have been a staple on recent red carpets.
The fact that Mila Kunis, who is Ukrainian, is going to be presenting. I've heard that there is going to be a nice moment with her doing a tribute to the country.
A tribute that could include a virtual appearance from Ukraine's president.
Tell you right now.
According to bookies, the night's top prize, Best Picture, is a tight race between Coda, which tells the story of a hearing daughter of a deaf family, and The Power of the Dog, the most nominated film of the night.
What little lady made these?
I did, sir.
Cody Smith-McPhee among 10 Australians up for awards.
So proud of everything that our whole sound team has been able to contribute.
With 2 Aussies going head-to-head for Best Cinematographer.
It doesn't feel like a football match. It doesn't feel like we're competing for the grand final.
But they will be competing with the world's top talent. In Los Angeles, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
And you can catch the 2022 Academy Awards right here on 7. We'll have full coverage with the Sunrise team from 5:30am, then the main awards show at 11.
Carlton greats are rallying behind legendary high flyer Alex Jesaulenko after his recent diagnosis with Parkinson's disease. Mark McClure, Jimmy Barclay and Mike Fitzpatrick joined footy fans of all ages at today's Fight Parkinson's, a walk in the park.
There are so many people with Parkinson's, and it's just so great for Fight Parkinson's to be doing what they're doing. So I'm so proud to be a part of it all.
Parkinson's is the second most common neurological disease in Australia after dementia. Well, the weekend has served up some beautiful weather. Sonia Marinelli, today was even better than yesterday.
Yes, and what a way, Mike, to wrap up a glorious weekend in the warmth of the sunshine. And even though it started on the chilly side, a very warm wind pushed the mercury along nicely. And in the end, we hit a high of 29, which was even better than forecast. We are tracking a weak wind change that will arrive tomorrow. Right now, we are on the warm side of it. So that means tonight's balmy conditions will ease us into the new week before southerly winds gradually cool us down. And I'll walk you through the forecast after sport. Beck, Mike, see you then.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Victoria's hospitality industry is at breaking point. Up next, the desperate new tactics to entice staff from around the world.
Also breaking details on the cocktail of drugs that killed a rock music legend.
The new IVF app allowing couples to choose their perfect donor.
And the brave Melbourne family taking giant strides for a great cause.
Police are pleading for the public's help to find a missing Noble Park man. 70-year-old Robert was last seen yesterday morning on Harold Road. There are concerns for his welfare as he has a condition which does require medication.
Victorian restaurant owners are going to extremes to fill their kitchens as crippling staff shortages hit hard. They're now flying in chefs from overseas with the promise of a better lifestyle and pay.
The demand for chefs has never been hotter. Restaurant owners forced to offer higher wages or look overseas.
We have a lot of ads online in pretty much everywhere and no one's applying.
The pandemic led to thousands of hospitality workers leaving the industry to find new careers, like policing, firefighting and accounting. Restaurants, pubs and cafes have struggled for months to fill the gaps, and the situation remains critical.
Victoria is facing one of the worst workforce challenges in history in the hospitality industry, with nearly 30,000 jobs available.
During COVID, we were the first one to be shuttered, probably the last one to be open. So lots of people left the industry.
Luca Rudelli has flown in 2 chefs from Italy since December. It's cost him close to $20,000 for their visas and legal fees, but he says it's a worthy investment.
We couldn't take any more customers. The only solution was to find someone overseas.
I think here the life is better. You can work, you can follow your passion, what you love.
There's an added bonus to working in hospitality. The pay has improved significantly during the pandemic. The accommodation and food services industry recorded the highest rate of wage growth in the past year.
And in Italy I work like 12 hours per day, 6 days per week. Here I work 5 days with the double salary.
But it's not a quick fix, prompting calls for the federal government to lower visa fees and streamline the process.
They just can't do it alone. They've been doing it very tough through the pandemic and certainly will need state and federal government support.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
We're learning more tonight about the shock death of Foo Fighters drummer Taylor Hawkins, with preliminary toxicology tests revealing he died with a cocktail of drugs in his system. The 50-year-old was found dead in his Colombian hotel room. 10 psychoactive substances and medicines were found in his system, including marijuana, antidepressants and opioids.
IVF can be complex and emotional, especially for those relying on a donor to help start a family. Now, new technology is making the journey a little easier, and it's as simple as swiping left or right.
3.5-year-old James is Lyndall Nichols' little miracle.
We knew when I was about 34 that I had the ovarian reserve of probably about a 42-year-old.
She and her husband used IVF during their first pregnancy. This time they're relying on the help of an egg donor too.
You just don't ever think that it will be you. You just assume when you're ready to start a family that it happens.
Now a new app called Eve is making it easier.
It just gives them time in their own lives to actually be looking through and getting used to the fact that they're trying to choose a donor for their family.
The app uses a digital egg donor bank. Potential parents are able to narrow down their options by swiping left or right on a photograph.
Some of them are of them as a baby, and some of the overseas egg donors will have photographs of them currently.
The app allows you to filter preferences like eye colour, hair colour and height. All donors are clinic recruited, aged between 18 and 32. They're counselled and checked for any medical conditions. Before Eve, there was Adam. That app is tailored to find sperm donors.
It's literally the gift of life at the most primitive level.
A life-changing journey that could start with a swipe. Georgia Terry, 7 News.
A Melbourne family is sharing their story tonight about their brave little girl and her health fight. They're hoping to inspire Victoria ahead of a much-loved event that's out to raise a record amount for the Good Friday appeal.
2 open heart surgeries before her 4th birthday, not that you'd know it.
I want to go park.
Amelia Rayhana's mum and dad knew there was a problem in utero, but nothing prepares you for this.
Where she will just stop breathing and then she starts to go blue, her lips are blue, eyes are blue.
She was suffering from a TET spell, common in babies diagnosed with tetralogy of Fallot, a congenital heart defect.
It hurts you so much when you actually see it and you don't really know what to do.
By the time she was 5 months old, Amelia was losing consciousness up to 5 times a day. The decision was made to operate at the Royal Children's Hospital. Amelia underwent a second surgery 17 months later.
Okay, push. Is it in?
Yeah.
Nice and tight?
Yeah.
You ready to go?
Ready they are. As a family, they've been pounding the pavement to train for the Run for the Kids long course of 14.8 kilometres.
It would be easy considering everything that she's gone through to wrap her up in cotton wool.
Yeah, I mean it would, but I want her to be outgoing. I don't want her to get older and just be, oh, I have a heart condition, I can't do that. I want her to put herself out there, just go and live life and enjoy it.
No doubt, Amelia's doing just that.
And I will be pounding the pavement next Sunday in the Run for the Kids, Mike. I hope I make it.
Yeah, me and my old hamstrings will be cheering you on from the starting line.
Right,
That's a great cause.
I'll see you at the finish line with the black and white flag. Check flag. Thank you, Mike. Well, the police crackdown is underway to get Melbourne hoons off the road and use their seized cars for good.
Also, the political spat threatening to derail Melbourne's $10 billion airport rail link.
And Aussie war veterans pitching in to make a powerful difference.
A dispute between the federal and state governments could derail Melbourne's $10 billion airport rail link. It's understood the Andrews government is looking to build an elevated structure, while the Morrison government is pushing for a tunnel. The rail link promises to connect Melbourne Airport to the CBD via Sunshine Station. Infrastructure Australia is assessing the proposed plan.
Police are promising to teach dangerous Melbourne hoons a lesson in road safety, seizing cars to help save lives. 200 reckless drivers are off the streets and their vehicles are now being used for vital SES training.
Taking Melbourne's most dangerous hoons off our roads and making sure they can't get back behind the wheel.
We're seizing their cars, we're seizing their mums and dads' cars.
An alarming 26 hoon meets took place across the northern suburbs last July, sparking the beginning of Operation Achilles. So far, police have charged more than 200 reckless drivers, disrupting multiple networks who organise and participate in the illegal meets.
In February of this year, we had none. So I'm pretty confident that we're having a major impact.
The seized vehicles aren't collecting dust. SES volunteers use them for vital training exercises.
They get to, pop the doors, cut out the sides, extricate the patients.
This Holden is one of more than 140 vehicles impounded over the past 9 months. As well as the SES, they're also used for fire rescue and specialist police training.
What happens to that car is ultimately a matter for the courts. Some are crushed, some are sold at public auctions and some are returned.
As well as lost property, police are keeping a closer eye on our roads than ever before, warning a maximum of 6 years behind bars for convicted drivers. Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Aussie veterans are pleading with the federal government to rescue Afghan interpreters now in hiding after working against the Taliban. Today, they took on some of the lucky interpreters who have escaped from Afghanistan in a cricket match with a serious message.
So much more than just teammates and on-field rivals. This unique match reinforcing an unbreakable bond. Between Aussie veterans and their Afghan interpreters.
They basically kept a lot of us alive.
We're just one family. We don't feel them separate from us. They're like our brothers.
The interpreters risked their lives to work for the Australians in the war against the Taliban. This game celebrates the resettlement of some with their families here for protection.
To thank them for their service and helping us over there in Afghanistan, and to help them assimilate into the Australian society.
But thousands more are still stranded in Afghanistan, fearing for their lives after the Taliban took over again, including Torf-e-Khalil's family.
They're in a hideout and changing their addresses day by day. Close relatives were targeted by the Taliban. Even one is in the hospital now.
And that's the only way that they can stay alive.
So this match is a joint plea to Canberra to honour a promise to get those families out to safety.
This is a message to the government that the veterans are still there to support us, and they are supporting us.
It's devastating to think that they're over there now fearing for their lives because they helped Australians.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
Jackie Felgate's back with sport now. There's breaking news at the Bombers.
There is, Beck, yes. One of their best players is set for surgery and could miss 2 months. We're live with the details next. Also, the Tigers steamroll the Giants. The fallout from the MCG is ahead. Half a dozen debutants for the Eagles who left their mark on the Roos with a star sent to hospital. Paddy Ryder inches closer to a senior return for the Saints. And a scary crash for the son of a Formula One legend. Welcome back. A depleted Richmond has pulled off a 36-point win over the Giants at the MCG. The Tigers stepped up the scoring in the second half as Toby Nankervis rose to the challenge of captaining his side.
Missing Dustin Martin and Jack Revolt for the first time in almost 13 years, a fast-finishing Richmond were back to their best.
This has been a mighty Richmond victory. Kick it as far as you can.
We felt like we held our own and gave ourselves plenty of opportunities up forward.
After a slow start, the Tigers put the Jets on in the second term.
Magnificent, electric at the G.
The big man, Toby Nankervis, standing up as the solo captain.
And the kick off the ground. Yes! Unbelievable from the big man.
Stephen Coniglio also leading by example for the Giants. Noah Bolter made a statement up front with 4 goals. This chased too much for Phil Davis, who left the ground with a hamstring injury.
That was just too much for his ageing legs.
I always say don't sprint. Bad things happen, so I'm disappointed.
Daniel Lloyd also subbed out with a forearm concern after running into his teammate. Tom Lynch was checked for concussion after this bump, but was cleared to play on. He finished the day with 3. Thompson Dow left with a leg issue. Other injured teammates watching as Richmond fought their way to victory.
Great spoil. Pickett said, I'll have none of that.
The competition's so even now, and this is definitely, I think the Giants will be really good. Carlton were really good last week, and the challenges don't stop now.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
Missing Dustin Martin and Jack Revolt for the first time in almost 13 years. Sorry, I'll start that again. North Melbourne star Taron Thomas has been sent to hospital after a nasty kick to his ribs. The Kangaroos were left bloodied but scraped home against the COVID-ravaged Eagles thanks to 6 goals from Nick Larkey.
Adam Simpson had his hands full, presenting jumpers to 6 new players after a week of COVID chaos. 14 changes and the fact the ring-ins had never even met the Eagles side didn't stop Willie Rioli.
He rolls it and drills it. Just the start they were after.
But there were moments we looked quite dominant, so yeah, I'm really proud of our players, our leaders.
Nick Larkey had 4 goals to half-time.
Larkey, North Melbourne get their second.
And not even some Rioli magic.
Rioli bends it around. They're in this.
Could stem the Roos tide.
All the way home anyway. One of the longest goals of the year.
But soon after, Taron Thomas's day was over after this nasty kick to the ribs. Taken to hospital in an ambulance for precautionary scans. Luke Davies-Uniacke was left concussed and out of the game. The number 1 draft pick was left bloodied. And Todd Goldstein joined the walking wounded after an accidental step from Jeremy McGovern. A magic moment for Waffle player Aaron Black.
First goal in AFL footy.
A rare mistake from the captain.
That is dumb. Jack, you're better than that.
But nothing could stop Nick Larkey.
Goal number 6 for Nick.
As North scraped out a 15-point win.
2 breaking news now, and the Bombers have suffered a major injury setback. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown is at the MCG. Tom, Zach Merritt is set to be sidelined for months.
0 and 2, terrible timing for Essendon. Zach Merritt will require, according to the club, surgery on a high syndesmosis ankle injury, that dreaded syndesmosis that will see him miss at least 6 to 8 weeks. The news obviously better for Nick Cox. He'll be monitored during the week, but Merritt very much the big story at Essendon tonight. Jack, meantime, Paddy Ryder, St Kilda hoping he gets back quickly. He's one step closer tonight, had 26 hit-outs in a successful stint in the VFL this afternoon. Jack, meantime tonight, there's increasing concern and controversy over the security and crowd response on Friday night for Buddy's 1,000th goal. Mick Malthouse has described the AFL setup as pathetic in terms of, I guess, the security and planning. Zach Toohey from the Cats does fear that some of the Cats players were deliberately targeted. 7 News today has obtained the AFL's detailed 29-page document on exactly how the security, in theory, was meant to work. These are the details exclusively. Buddy's 1,000th was one of football's most iconic moments.
The legend becomes immortal.
But Geelong will raise some safety concerns direct with the AFL, Zach Toohey and Jeremy Cameron colliding with fans. This, the 5-phase, 29-page plan detailing how security was meant to work. 8 objectives included protecting Buddy, the other players, even retrieval of the footy. 20 police, in addition to normal, specifically assigned. 1 supervisor and 8 security were meant to tightly circle Franklin, preventing contact with spectators, taking Buddy directly to the nearest race. Guards didn't get close. It took Buddy 9 minutes to reach the Swans' rooms. Security was meant to escort all the other players, minimising contact with fans, to this shoot. Some Swans got stuck on the opposite side of the ground. Florent and Warner walked back outside. 4 guards were assigned to retrieve the footy. The plan, stand here in the aisle, assisted by a dedicated camera to track the ball. Tom Brown, 7 News.
Collingwood's AFLW season is over after being thumped by Brisbane. The game finally went ahead after COVID ran through the Magpies camp. And the Lions, with the freshest side, running away 50-point winners.
Farquharson goes the banana towards goal, and it's got the bend.
They'll face Melbourne at the MCG next week for a spot in the grand final. Melbourne United is in danger of losing a grip on top spot. They were no match for the Illawarra Hawks, who stunned the league leaders with a shock 92-77 win. A bitter blow for the South East Melbourne Phoenix, their playoff hopes dashed by an 8-point loss to Adelaide. Travelling at 274 kilometres an hour, Mick Schumacher sent a shudder through pit lane in qualifying for the Saudi Arabian GP.
That was a horrible incident.
That was very horrible incident.
Big impact.
The son of F1 icon Michael avoided serious injury but was airlifted to hospital for precautionary checks. Sergio Perez has pole, Daniel Ricciardo qualified 12th. That wraps up sport, and your Tigers with a win.
Yeah, I'm smiling again.
I bet you will.
All's good in the world. Thanks, Jack. Sonia's back with the forecast. And Son, how is the week looking?
Well, Mike, what can I say? Nothing lasts forever, so this summery warmth will make way for some cooler days. Stay tuned. I'll have the weather details next.
The Shane Warne wake-up call.
It can hit anyone.
Australian men shocked into action.
It really hits home.
We're there as 2 sporting stars face a moment of truth.
We've got to do this sort of testing and find out.
Putting their hearts to the test with cutting-edge technology. 7 News, Monday at 6.
Good evening. Glorious weather to round out the week, and although the cooler autumn mornings have brought us some patchy fog, very quickly it's cleared out, and I hope you've been making the most of what's likely to be the last of the summery warmth, with a weak wind change now in the works. So today, ahead of that change, a northerly breeze pushed the city to a high of 29.1 degrees, and we're holding on to the warmth this evening. Check it out, we're sitting on around 28 degrees in most spots. So tonight, milder than it's been. We'll comfortably hover in the low 20s for most of it. And then we're setting up for this weak wind change to move through tomorrow. And right across the state, that'll really knock the heat out of the days to come. And by Thursday, it's going to be feeling quite chilly for most of us. So we'll get some decent showers on Wednesday and Thursday, but the rest of the week is looking to stay dry. It is all still happening to our west and right down the east coast. Brisbane and Sydney again in the firing line for heavy rain and storms, and the weak system bringing us our cool wind change will deliver some showers to Hobart. Wet weather continuing in Perth, Adelaide nice and dry. To Victoria now, partly cloudy with isolated showers developing over southern and eastern districts. A chance of an afternoon thunderstorm out in the east, along with those fog patches this tomorrow morning. Quite a few planned burns going on at the moment, so there is the chance of some smoke haze pushing across the south, and we're likely to see some of that smoke drifting across eastern suburbs, clearing out by lunchtime. Otherwise, partly cloudy around Melbourne and Geelong tomorrow, with just a slight chance of some nuisance showers. So these high teen minimums will help us to warm very quickly. We'll reach these maximums early, mid-20s through the south, as high as 27 and 28 up in the north, cooling right down though through the afternoon. So tonight is mild. We're down to 18 degrees and we'll retain some of the warmth into tomorrow as the city heads for a high of 25. There will be breaks of sunshine, and we'll notice, you can see that wind shifting through the day as those southerlies kick in through the afternoon, and that will set us up for a gradual cooling trend as we head through the week. So Tuesday down to 22 and partly cloudy. Wednesday 20 with showers. Thursday the coolest day of the week, 19 with possible showers. Turning it around after that on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, chilly mornings making way for mild sunny afternoons. So we've ended the week on a high right now, sitting in the high 20s in the city and right around the suburbs. So get outside, go for a walk before the cooler weather arrives.
Good idea. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
And that's 7 News for this Sunday. We'll have updates throughout the night.
For now, from the 7 News team, good night.